Hey, it's Mark Moss, and look, if you're watching this right now, you probably already know me, right? You've probably watched my YouTube videos, you see my content, maybe you've attended one of my events. And if you're here though, there's a good chance that you're dealing with something that used to drive me absolutely crazy. Probably you're making good money, maybe really good money, maybe six figures, maybe multiple six figures, but maybe even seven. But here's the thing, maybe you're not feeling wealthy. And you've probably asked yourself, why am I earning this much, but I still feel like I'm just spinning my wheels? Well, here's what I discovered. And when I discovered it, it changed everything for me. You see, revenue is like a vanity metric. The balance sheet, though, that's your destiny. The system doesn't reward labor, it rewards collateral. And so if you're building wealth the way most people are taught, with income and investments and 401ks, you're playing the wrong game entirely. So today, what I want to do is I want to show you a different game. I want to show you a different operating system. And if you stick with me for maybe the next 10 minutes or so, you're going to see exactly why high income earners, they stay broke, and what the wealthy do differently to make every single dollar work in multiple places at the same time. All right, so let me ask you something. How much of your net worth can you actually access in 60 days without selling something? Think about that for a second. You might have maybe $1 million on paper, maybe 2 million, maybe more. But if you needed 100,000 in cash next week, could you get it without triggering taxes, without liquidating assets, without taking on high interest debt? Well, most people can't, because here's what happens. You earn income, you pay taxes on that income, and then you live on whatever's left, and then hopefully there's a little bit left for you to invest. And then that money just sits there. It's locked up in a 401k, and you can't touch it. It's trapped in home equity with no HELOC. It's buried in illiquid investments with 7-year lockups. So you have net worth, but you have no liquidity. You have assets, but you really have no system. And so the result is that you keep working harder, you keep earning more, but you never feel free. You never feel wealthy, because wealth isn't about how much you make, it's about how your balance sheet is structured. So let me show you what I mean. Let's imagine two different people. They're both making, say, $300,000 a year. Person A, they take that $300,000, they pay $100,000 in taxes, they invest whatever's left into a retirement account, and maybe some stocks. At the end of the year, they've added maybe, I don't know, $150,000 to their net worth. It's locked up. It's illiquid. They can't access it without penalties. On the other side, we have, say, person B. They take the same $300,000, but they've engineered their balance sheet differently. They've optimized their tax structure. They've saved $80,000 in taxes. They've activated dormant capital. They've layered their assets so $1 is doing the work of $3, $5, maybe $7. So at the end of the year, person B has now built up $500,000 in accessible wealth, not locked up, not waiting until they're 65, but accessible now. But it's the same income. It's a completely different outcome. Now the difference here is that person B has a wealth operating system. You see, most people, they're taught to think like workers. They earn more, they save more, they invest more. But the wealthy, they think more like treasurers. Let me explain what that means. A worker probably asks, like, how do I make more money? Whereas a treasurer asks, how do I make my balance sheet work for me? A worker chases income, a treasurer builds collateral. A worker pays taxes and hopes to invest whatever's left. A treasurer engineers their structure to keep more of what they earn, then deploys the capital into assets that compound and create liquidity. And here's really the key here. The wealthy don't just own assets, they make those assets do multiple jobs at once. Think about it like this. Most people spend $1 once and then it's gone. But the wealthy, they get that same dollar doing 3 jobs, 5 jobs, maybe 7 jobs simultaneously. You see, this way they're not working harder, they're not making more income, they're increasing their wealth velocity. And that's the system I'm going to show you right now. The Treasury OS framework. So what it really is a wealth operating system. And this is the exact framework I built after I lost everything back in 2008. Now, I had multi-million-dollar portfolio, I was making great income, and I blew it all up because, well, I didn't have this system. I didn't have the rules. I was making decisions based on emotion and opportunity instead of operating principles. And when the market crash in 2008 happened, it forced me to rebuild from scratch. But this time, I did it completely differently. This time, I built an operating system, a set of rules that could run without me, a treasury doctrine that protects my wealth and accelerates growth at the same time. Now the system, it has 4 core pillars. First, you have your treasury doctrine. This is your financial constitution. These are the rules for how you deploy capital, handle consumption, and maintain liquidity. Also how you use leverage, how you manage risk. If a rule requires willpower, it's not a rule. It's more like a wish. So your doctrine runs like software, an operating system. Then you have your balance sheet x-ray. This is where you classify every asset that you have into one of 4 categories: collateral assets that you can borrow against, productive assets that generate cash flow, lifestyle assets that you enjoy but they don't make you money, and then dead weight assets, they're draining resources. Now most people have never actually done this. They have no idea what's actually working for them and what's weighing them down. Then we move on to your liquidity stack. This is a 4-layer system that makes sure that you never have to sell in a downturn. You have an operating buffer, emergency reserves, asset liquidity, and your illiquid wealth builders. All right, net worth, again, it's like vanity, but the liquidity is the survival that allows us to grow. Then we move on to your risk and leverage policy. So we build your guardrails. What's your maximum loan to value? What happens if the market drops 30%, 50%, 70%? Most people use leverage to chase returns, but that's how you blow up. You use leverage to preserve ownership. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Once you have this operating system in place, then you can start layering your wealth, getting $1 to do multiple jobs at once. Let me give you a real-world example of how this works. Let's say you have $100,000 sitting in your home equity. It's just sitting there. It's doing one job. It's in your home. Now most people leave it there. Maybe they cash out, refinance, and then they go buy a boat. But here's what you could do instead. You could take that $100,000 and put it into a structure that compounds at, say, 5% tax-free. That's one job. Then you could borrow against that 5%. Now your $100,000 is still growing in the house, but now you've got it back out to deploy. It's making 5%. You pulled it out again. Now it's doing 2 jobs, and I still have the $100,000. Now I take that $100,000 and I put it down, let's say, on a $500,000 rental property. Now I've got $400,000 of leverage working for you. That's job number 3. Let's say the property appreciates at, say, just 6% annually. That's $30,000 a year in equity growth. That's job number 4. Then the property generates, say, $1,000, $2,000 a month in cash flow. That's job number 5. On top of that, I get to take tax depreciation and write it off against my active income, and let's say that saves me $30,000 in taxes. That's job 6. You deploy that $30,000 now, let's say, into Bitcoin, and over 20 years that becomes $1.5 million. That's 7 jobs. The same $100,000 doing 7 jobs and creating $14 million over 20 years. Now, not because you worked harder. Like, you didn't earn any more money here. You just made that dollar do multiple jobs. That's what I call wealth velocity. Now, once you understand the system, then you can start to apply it to everything. Your business equity, your portfolio, your real estate, your Bitcoin. You're not just stacking assets, you're stacking layers that multiply on top of each other. Now, here's the thing. Most people hear this and they get it at a high level, right? They understand the concept, but then they try to do it. They DIY it. They try to figure it out on their own and they get stuck. It's one thing to understand the framework. It's another thing to entirely to know which products to use, how to structure the entities, how to set up the loans without getting liquidated, how to layer structures for maximum tax efficiency. I mean, there's 1,000 small decisions that can make or break the entire system. And that's the gap. That's where most people stay stuck. They see the opportunity, they know it's massive, but they don't know where to start. They're overwhelmed. And they can't do it alone. And so they just don't do anything at all. So they keep working, they keep earning, they keep paying taxes, they keep leaving money on the table. But meanwhile, their balance sheet, it stays fragile. Their wealth, it stays locked up. And they never get to financial freedom. But here's the thing. You can't build a treasury operating system by just watching YouTube videos and reading books. You're going to need a system. You need a team. You need someone who's already built this and can show you exactly how to customize it for your own specific situation. And that's why I created the Wealth OS Accelerator. Now, this is the exact system that I use personally. It's the same system I've walked hundreds of entrepreneurs and high-income earners through. And here's what's really different about this program. We don't just teach you theory, right? This is about building your actual operating system, right? And we build it with you. We build your treasury doctrine, your balance sheet x-ray, your liquidity stack, your leverage policy, your multiplication framework. We map out your dormant capital. We identify your tax leakage. We engineer your structure so that every dollar you have is working at maximum velocity. And we do it with you, step by step, with a team of advisors who handle all the technical details. Because here's what I've learned. The inheritance that we want to leave and pass on to our heirs isn't just the assets that we give them, it's the operating system. You see, anyone can just go buy Bitcoin. Anyone can buy real estate. Anyone can open up a 401k. But if you don't have an operating system, then you're just collecting stuff. You're not building wealth. The OS is what turns scattered assets into a compounding engine. It's what turns good income into generational wealth. And that's what we build together. So here's what I want you to do. If you're watching this and you're thinking like, yeah, this sounds good. Like I probably need this. I am tired of feeling stuck. I do want to build real wealth with my balance sheet instead of just chasing more income. Well, then the next step for you, it's simple. Just book a strategy call with my team. Now look, this isn't a sales pitch. This is a diagnostic. We're going to go take a look at your current balance sheet. We're going to identify where you're leaking wealth, where your dormant capital is, what tax optimization opportunities are there for you. And you'll walk away with a clear map of where you are and what the path forward looks like for you. Now, if it makes sense for both of us to work together, then we can show you exactly what that looks like inside the wealth operating system. All right. Now, if not, then you can still leave with more clarity than you came with. But here's what I need you to understand. You have a window. Asset prices are rising faster than income. AI disruption, it's coming. And we don't know what it's going to look like after the next 24 months. But what I do know is the people who learn to build wealth with their balance sheet instead of their income, they're going to be positioned. The people who wait, they're going to get caught. So if you're serious about this, don't wait. Click the button below, book a strategy call. Let's just map out your treasury operating system together. Because again, like I said, revenue is vanity, but your balance sheet is your destiny. And it's time to build yours out. So book a call and I'll see you there.